And welcome back, everybody. We are here for the 2023 Utrecht Pokemon Special event. This is the final moment that we have been waiting for. It's been building up across the weekend, of course. We are here. It is the finals where we're going to be having Aurélien Soula representing France versus Rios from Spain, of which has just gone through a juggernaut of a set versus Marco Silva of Italy.
Exactly. Both of these players the previous matches were amazing. First off, I have to mention I have been able to watch them and just try and study them as intensely as possible, and just seeing these players being able to showcase what their level of thinking is like, their plays, the Pokemon that they have brought, everything has cultivated into this moment right here. These finals, day 1, day 2 Swiss, top 8, finals. It is time.
It really is time. You know, we had a beautiful exhibition of very high-level advanced plays. A lot of switch-outs. I think both Charlie as well as Jamie did mention that it may have reached the point where there are even more switch-outs as opposed to the actual attacks that were dealt out towards either of both of Marco's as well as Eric's Pokemon. But that is sort of the expectation at this point. You know, we are at the end. This is the final moment where we are going to crown a champion of the special event here in Utrecht. So what best way, of course, to be able to slide straight into this than have some very two on-form players duking it out, of course, for the title.
Exactly. This is, well, this is it. It is just so hard to say than anything else, but this is it. This is the cultivating of these two players excellently playing to the best of their abilities, as we have seen Aurélien's their play as well, having, for example, protecting the double protect with the Great Tusk earlier in his match as well, trying to have that deciding victory as well. It was an amazing play to be seen and made. Of course, you need a little bit of lady luck sometimes, but play to the best of your abilities and see what comes out.
Exactly that, as we're going to be seeing our players ready themselves up right now. A lot of pressure going into this, a lot of anticipation and excitement in the audience. They have been quite lively and supportive. There they are, lovely, beautiful faces joining us. Hello to you two. And it's been an absolute pleasure having everybody join in this effort, seeing everyone so ecstatic and happy and joyful, of course, to experience this entire event and lovely weekend we've been able to have, of course. But going into the actual teams, let's have a bit of a breakdown. We've most definitely seen quite a bit of both of these trainers' teams. Aurélien does have the Iron Bundle, Dragonite, Great Tusk, Mousehold, Golden Go, and Volcarona, whilst over on Eric's side, the Arcanine, Amoonguss, Roaring Moon, Iron Bundle, Golden Go, and the Iron Hands.
Yeah, we have seen Eric's team very much adapt well to that Garganacl, being a bit more bulky at that hand, while we have seen Aurelien's team do a bit well with that offensive power that it can present. And here we have, of course, their previous successes in other tournaments as the Bochum Regional top 4 for Aurélien, maybe being able to take the next European tournament home.
Well, maybe indeed, but what best way to actually have these two trainers go up against each other, as Eric, of course, is the current holding European international champion back of the 2022 season. So Aurélien has done very well for themselves in order to get that consistency up, as we've seen and we mentioned in the interviews from before. Every single event at the current moment that they have been participating in, they keep on putting up the pressure of the positive results. And I think we have seen a couple of calls that Aurélien has ran. A couple of different choices they do have going into this matchup. We know that there's some redirection setup capability with the Mousehold and Volcarona, or there is that all-out damage and speed control with the Iron Bundle alongside either a Great Tusk or the Dragonite or Golden Go.
Exactly. Mousehold being there for a nice support role with the Vanguard, trying to redirect any sort of attacks coming in the way of those offensive threats. Of course, Iron Bundle being a nice way of having that speed control. And this Dragonite also, we have been seeing a lot of Dragonite, and this Dragonite coming around with the inner focus instead of the multi-scale, not being intimidated at all. As we see on this end from Eric's side, we have the Iron Hands, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Iron Bundle, Golden Go, and the Roaring Moon.
I know, and we've already seen quite a bit of Eric's team going into the previous set, of course. I think that Fire, Water, Grass Core just really paying dividends. It's such good synergy amongst all of those Pokemon, whether through their abilities or fake-out capabilities, such as the Iron Hands. You've got the pivot of the Volt Switch. You know how tanky Iron Hands is. It's proven it ever since we started this format in the Scarlet and Violet games back when in season or series 1/Regulation A.
Exactly. The slow Volt Switch being an amazing assisting tool, just making sure that the Pokemon, whatever comes in afterwards, will be in safely from those fast offensive threats that you usually see. Now Amoonguss, of course, being a very nice Pokemon as well, with the Regenerator, being able to redirect any moves from the offensive presence that Eric has also on his team, as we have seen with that Golden Go, just being able to be very scary with those potential nasty plots it could set up and then do a lot of damage with the Make It Rain and the Shadow Ball.
Indeed, and something worth noting, of course, speed control-wise, the Iron Bundle on Eric's side doesn't actually have Icy Wind. Instead, it has Encore, and the Roaring Moon does have Tailwind to take into consideration, but it's all right. I'm going to be seeing in the battlefield. We are starting with our Game 1 for the finals. Eric has gone ahead and led with Fake Out Pressure immediately available on the field via the Iron Hands, alongside, of course, that Golden Go, which does have the capability of getting Nasty Plus set up, whilst on the other hand, Aurélien has led quite nicely with that Great Tusk that does threaten super effective damage onto both of Eric's side, accompanied by the Iron Bundle, which does have capabilities of going for the Icy Wind.
Exactly. The Iron Bundle, of course, threatening well, not really that much, because really right now we have the Iron Hands being very bulky with that Assault Vest, and the Golden Go, of course, with its typing, making sure that it can resist any ice moves, but not the water moves, of course. And we do see the switch from the Iron Bundle into the Golden Go, while the Great Tusk does cease to protect itself, trying to make sure that the Fake Out would not affect it at all.
Indeed. So we see a bit of a situation. Very nice switch from Aurelien's side. Will be, of course, able to resist the Make It Rain at the cost of Eric's Golden Go, now being brought down to -1 of its special attack. So quite a nice play. You're able to just go ahead and ensure the Iron Bundle doesn't receive any sort of damage, whilst pivoting yourself in the way where you can either go and threaten any setup of the nasty plot over on your side of the field. But Great Tusk is in a very good position. It, of course, has not had its Focus Sash broken due to the Protect, which did safeguard it from the Fake Out.
Exactly, and now we do manage to see the Golden Go switch out there, not wanting these threats here to be on the field. And we do see the Arcanine with the incoming Intimidate, making sure that this Great Tusk attack will be lowered, just to make sure that any possible attack from the Great Tusk will not KO and have any KO possibilities. As we do see the activation of the Terra type onto that Iron Hands, going into that Grass typing, making sure that any sort of ground moves from this Great Tusk will not be very effective as well.
Nice defensive play here from Eric, but the Headlong Rush goes straight into the oncoming Arcanine slot, dealing so much damage, even at -1 of its attack stages. Of course, Arcanine will recover a bit of its HP, but the real question is, what does this Golden Go do? It does try to set itself up with the Nasty Plot, skyrocketing its special attack to +2, of course, with the stages. Wild Charge trying to focus down on the Golden Go will not allow the Golden Go to actually have as much flexibility for setup, as well as extend its longevity across the turns.
Exactly. This Golden Go, of course, not having any leftovers right now, so still gonna be at this amount of HP, as we see that the Arcanine, of course, being on the field, does threaten both the Golden Go and can possibly threaten the Great Tusk with a potential Will-O-Wisp at the same time. Doing like the damage that the Iron Hands just showcased, just showing that not only is it really bulky, it just really shows that offensive power that it really carries. And we do see the switch out from the Great Tusk out into that beautiful little mouse hold, of course, with that Frank Guard, making sure that any potential attacks coming the Golden Ghost waves will be reduced by a bit, at least, as we see the Arcanine switch out into that Amoonguss, also with the redirection possibility, and we see the Make It Rain doing quite a bit of damage there. And the special attack does drop on the Golden Ghost side, while the Amoonguss decides to have a little bit of a snack here, while now the Iron Hands has the possibility to go for the move, goes for the Drain Punch right into the mouse hold, and a great huge KO there onto the mouse hold, just making sure that there will no longer be any sort of Frank Guard either.
So let's break that down a bit. We saw the Great Tusk switch out. It wanted to, of course, first reset the Intimidate drops to its attack, but also allow itself to not have the Focus Sash broken. But due to that susceptibility of potential predictability from Eric's side of the field, you're able to at least target it down with a Drain Punch. We know that any sort of Electric-type move wouldn't make a lot of sense going into that slot unless you're expecting any sort of Iron Bundle switch in there. But Drain Punch, at least you consistently can deal some damage, break the Focus Sash, and if there's a switch in, as we had seen with the Mouse Hold, you're able to deal some very impactful damage, actually pick up that KO, which in all honesty, I really didn't expect it to do so, as Mouse Holds do tend to have a lot of bulk nowadays trained into them.
Exactly, and we do manage to see the Terra on Aurelien's side as well. Just trying to go as powerful as possible with that Golden Go. Just going for that Steel Terra typing. It's same type attack bonus now doubled, making sure that this Make It Rain will definitely hurt a lot as the Amoonguss goes for the Rage Powder. But yes, Make It Rain is a spread move, hitting both the Iron Hands, and we do see the Freeze Drive from the Iron Bundle into the Amoonguss, just taking it out, meaning this Make It Rain is now a single target move. How much damage will this do onto this oncoming Iron Hands? And we are seeing the attack itself doing quite a bit of damage, bit more of damage. Of course, now being -1 and now being at neutral yet again, as we do see the Wild Charge into the Iron Bundle and a huge KO yet again. And that Iron Hands really putting in the works.
It really, really is. I think Golden Go did, of course, have the +1 available to itself still from the previous Nasty Plot, as well as the drop of the Make It Rain prior. We know for a fact that, of course, the Electric typing was no longer available for the Iron Hands due to the Grass Terra type, but you could just see how the Iron Hands still can take a lot of damage. A single target via, of course, addition of the Steel Terra type. Surely it should have dealt more damage, but that is an Assault Vest Iron Hand that we previously saw, which has now actually switched into this Arcanine for the Intimidate drop onto the Great Tusk.
Yeah, now of course Great Tusk will do a little bit less damage with whatever move it wanted to go for, as we do see the Protect from the Golden Go, just making sure that it can survive any potential move, as we do see the Headlong Rush into that Protect, meaning nothing really happened in that turn except for that Great Tusk losing its attack, and the Make It Rain coming out. Now this is a neutral Golden Go onto this Arcanine, which is still a Fire typing, now doing decent amount of damage. This Arcanine already having eaten its berry, and now the Golden Go special attack will be lowered by 1 yet again.
Indeed. So the Golden Go over on Aurélion's side already in a situation where it cannot switch out anymore. Aurélien is down to their final 2 Pokemon, the Great Tusk and the Golden Go, which means, of course, it's locked in right now. We've got an Arcanine that does have the benefit of being able to switch back out, as we have just seen, for, of course, the Iron Hands, which will threaten once again with Fate Out Pressure. If it does survive this turn, talking about survival, that Golden Go does just that from Eric's side on a slither of health, whilst the Golden Go on Eric's side goes for the Shadow Ball. Is this enough to pick up the KO? Of course it's enough to pick up the KO. You have all of a sudden a 3 versus 1 advantage for Eric going into this, looking really strong right now.
Yeah, exactly. Now the Iron Hands has the possibility to go for that Fake Out, of course, as well. While this Golden Go is free to do anything, forcing this Great Tusk to just choose if it's going to protect for this turn, and then the next turn try to go for as much damage as possible. But yes, you have the possibility, of course, of that Arcanine switching in yet again, making sure that the attack stat of this Great Tusk will be lowered and lowered and lowered again.
Exactly, and it's sort of beneficial for Eric, as we saw Aurélien actually opt to go for the Protect in order to safeguard as well, of course, from that fake out, flinching it and breaking its focus sash. It's not in a position where it would like to do so, so it was sort of forced into the Protect, and Eric was able to make a relatively safe play there in order to put on the pressure. So at the current moment, it does seem like this will likely go Eric's way. However, this Great Tusk is known to be a menace. We know that it can have any potential to try to search far and wide for a win condition, so I wouldn't put it past it entirely to sort of try to navigate a way around this.
Exactly. This Great Tusk is still offering a lot of great speed, as we do see the close combat into the Iron Hands, but still surviving after even -2, but still a 120 base power, close combat, just barely missing out on the Kiddo, while the Arcanine deciding to go for another Will-O-Wisp, making sure that this Great Tusk attack will even do less. And then we do see the Drain Punch coming out, doing quite a bit of damage, of course, because we know that the Great Tusk has been going for those attacks, which made its defenses drop as well. So this Iron Hand's looking pretty nice right now, because, of course, it has healed a bit of damage. The Arcanine still also very much alive and being able to just attack the Great Tusk if needed. And that was game 1.
Game 1 over to Eric Rios. You can see there that he was quite calculated towards the mid and end game phase of game 1. The fact that you're able to ensure that you take your time with the tempo, you can go ahead and actually shut down any offensive pressure from Aurelien's side by picking up the very vital KOs of which we had seen. I think a very good call out would be that one turn we saw the Drain Punch from Iron Hands actually pick up the one-hit KO onto the mouse hold, just going to show the overwhelming amount of attack power that Iron Hands does have in its arsenal.
Exactly, that Iron Hands with its Drain Punch being able to KO that mouse hold from full is something that I haven't seen that often, but that is, of course, the way you have trained your Pokemon, and the Iron Hands definitely showcasing that it is, while it's still bulky, it is still relatively very strong, being able to take those hits when it needs, but also dish out those hits when needed. Now, we were earlier discussing as well about the teams and like seeing what will be brought, and we thought like Dragonite would have been an interesting pick as well. Dragonite, of course, with having that inner focus ability, trying to make sure that it cannot be intimidated and just deal as much damage as possible. And now seeing that Iron Hands be so bulky and so offensively present, it feels a bit. It feels like the Aurélien might have made a right call not bringing it.
It may have been the case. I think at least the Dragonite would have still pressured the Grass Terror type of the Iron Hands, right? You know that Eric's going to try to rely on it, given the fact that Great Tusk immediately threatens it. You need to sort of have an answer to that. So the only good way about it, whilst retaining the Iron Hands on the field or going for the multiple rotations and cycles of switch outs to bring the fake out back once again later on, sort of constitutes the fact that you do not want any severe damage dealt onto it, hence why it gives more incentive for Eric to opt for the Grass Terror as a sort of very safe play to go about it. I think this is something Aurélien could try to take advantage of to bring this set back to a Game 3. Dragonite does still have a lot of capabilities around it. You just need to be able to navigate in a very well manner phase, as we know that Eric is a master of repositioning. This is what is his bread and butter per se, especially with the core of which we have seen.
I think you might have changed my mind. Maybe Dragonite is the right pick there. Because,
it could be.
Yeah, no,
it could be.
Because, yes, logically speaking, if we're only looking at that Iron Hands, the Great Tusk does threaten it with any type of ground move, like the Headlong Rush. But then there is that Dragonite with that potential of that Flying Terra Blast. Just being able to make sure that that is covered. Of course, now there's a lot of things to keep in consideration, because there is the Amoonguss with the redirection and such, which will always stay a big threat, because it also has those potential spores that can come out as well.
Indeed, as we're going to be going into Game 2 of the finals here in Utrecht. We see the Iron Hands and Arcanine lead over from Eric's side versus the Great Tusk and Iron Bundle. We're going to be seeing a couple of different interactions here. The Quark Drive is now activated via the Booster Energy, heightening the speed of this cute, adorable little present giver, whilst the Intimidate has been able to drop the Great Tusk's attack to -1. So no Dragonite at the current moment, which could be quite nice, but I can understand Aurélien wanting to respect the potential Arcanine lead with that Will-O-Wisp. You do not want a heavy sweeper of yours to actually be maimed in a way of having its damage output halved.
Exactly, and well, the Iron Bundle has been proving to be kind of useful as well, as we were talking about earlier with the situation where the Great Tusk does threaten the Iron Hands. Well, if the Iron Hands would go for that Terra Grass mechanic, it could still be hit with a strong freeze, right? A strong ice move, as we do actually see the switch out from the Arcanine into that Amoonguss, just trying to see if any redirection or any potential ground moves from this Great Tusk into that slot, as we have the terrestrial, as we do have the Terra mechanic activate here for that Iron Hands yet again, being that powerful grass typing that does resist those ground moves very well.
Indeed it does. So we're going to be seeing Eric, of course, adapt to the mega threat of which this Great Tusk can be. Aurélien actually opting to go for Protect now, so a couple of Protects shared here, not wanting to be susceptible to any sort of fake outs, any sort of wild charges, as we did see where the focus was on the Iron Bundle. It's not a Focus Sash. The Focus Sash is indeed on the Great Tusk. But if I am Aurélien in this situation, I would really be hoping that I brought that Dragonite in the back, because its potential of being able to unleash a lot of power right now is very high. Very, very high.
Exactly, as we do see the switch out from the Iron Bundle actually here now into that Golden Go. Golden Go, of course, being a very offensive presence, possibly, especially now that the Iron Hands has lost its electric typing, meaning those Make It Rains will sting that little bit more. As we do see the switch out and the Wild Charge into what used to be that Great Tusk slot into that Mousehole, doing quite a bit of damage. Not a KO, as the Amoonguss does go for a Spore, but guess what? That Golden Go is as good as gold.
It is indeed as good as gold, and thanks to its unique ability, it will allow it to shake off any sort of spores or status type moves going into the slot. So it's a really nice switch in to this Amoonguss. No Dragonite from what we've seen. Aurélien has revealed all 4 of their Pokemon: Great Tusk, Mousehole, Iron Bundle, and Golden Go. I guess it's just about trying to limit and focus down what you can with that very, very threatening core, or very robust core of the Iron Hands, Amoonguss, and Arcanine at this point, that Eric has just been able to show that he really knows how to pilot it well. He understands the situations that he needs to try to get the switches out and the pivot action going. So I wouldn't even be surprised if this is a Volt Switch coming out from the Iron Hands, unless it tries to focus down on the Mousehole.
Yeah, and we do see the Protect from Mousehole as the Amoonguss has switched out to that Iron Bundle, as well as the Golden Go, just going for that cheeky little nasty plot, just making sure to deal as much damage as possible, as actually we see the Iron Hands go for the Drain Punch into that Mousehole slot, just trying to make sure that it can possibly KO that. But now we're in a very interesting situation where, of course, the Golden Go is now +2. Looking in a very good situation, because it will deal a lot of damage to this Iron Bundle, and decent amount of damage also to this Iron Hands, because of course it still has that Assault Vest, but lost its resistant typing right now. The Mousehole, of course, being able to possibly help a little bit with the Golden Go with that Super Fang as well.
I think this is what Aurélien has identified as their strategy. Going for the Super Fang in combination with the +2 potential Steel Terra type on the Golden Go surely should be enough to be able to take down this super tanky Pokemon, of which is the Iron Hands. And yes, we do get the confirmation. The Terrestrial is out and it is utilized onto the Golden Go. The question is, of course, is this enough right now as the Iron Bundle at this point, I don't think it's going to be able to do as much unless it connects with a Hydro Pump. It does pick up the KO. It doesn't even allow the Super Fang to be utilized. So I do not think this Iron Hands is going down as much as Golden Go is wanting to make it rain. Not even the Iron Bundle goes down. Of course, it is brought to its Focus Sash, but this opens up the room that Iron Hands really wants to go for. It goes for the Drain Punch. It completely ignores the Ghost typing. It anticipates that Terrastal and is able to regain a lot of HP. And Eric Rios right now is on fire.
That was an amazing play to make because, of course, if you hit that, if you go for that Hydro Pump and have that potential of missing, you still have the Drain Punch itself, making sure that that mouse hole does not stay a second turn. But still, that working out so well in this situation where the Gologo wanted to deal as much damage as possible and going for that Terra mechanic. Just, oh my lord, this is an amazing thing to have seen. And now the Iron Bundle being in, just being able to threaten a little bit as well with its Icy Winds and its Freeze Rise as well.
Indeed, and I think an adaptation that we saw between Game 1 and Game 2 for Eric is that Eric's left his Golden Go back. He's brought the Iron Bundle, and the Iron Bundle has already proven to be very, very useful in what it does. We've seen a switch out of the Iron Hands to be preserved for a later time, accompanied by a double Iron Bundle Protect. From the looks of things, one Iron Bundle aside. Make It Rain will now be dispatched onto the Arcanine. Remember, it is still at +1 of special attack. It's still going to be dealing respectable amounts on damage onto this Arcanine, even if it does resist. However, we're already seeing resources starting to drain from Aurelien's side. I think Eric has done an incredible job in focusing down on certain win condition types, being able to bring in the Iron Bundle to threaten, of course, the Mouse Hold with the Hydro Pump. It could have been a completely different game if that Hydro Pump failed to connect.
Exactly. Now we see the Arcanine actually switching out here yet again, keeping it for a bit later because we still have that Great Tusk in the back on Aurelien's side as we see the Amoonguss come out, just enjoying to be able to take any kind of Hydro Pump, but unfortunate miss there as we see another Hydro Pump and another miss as well. Amazingly, just it happens. That is one of those mechanics, of course. A can miss, and we do see the Make It Rain finally taking out this Iron Bundle, at least on Eric's side.
Indeed, Amoonguss definitely taking a bit of a hit there, and the Iron Bundle is out for the count of this game too. So in this situation, we do have Iron Hands recycling itself back through onto the field. It does have fake out pressure. We know this Golden Go is no longer has its Ghost Terra, so both of Aurelien's Pokemon at this current moment are susceptible to it, and we know that Aurelien does have the Great Tusk in the back, preserving the Focus Sash at the current moment. It is still intact. It hasn't been broken. So it's just going to be a basic game of how do I position myself to the point where I can deal substantial amount of damage to this core trio of Eric's Pokemon, as Nasty Plot just opts to go, gets set off, but it doesn't matter. The Golden Go goes down thanks to the ferocious power of which this Iron Hands is. It is as strong as it is bulky.
Exactly, that Iron Hands just showing his hand, saying stop, no further, you must not plot no more. As the Amoonguss does go for the Spore into that Iron Bundle slot, unfortunately going into that Protect, and now the Great Tusk can finally come back in, still having that Focus Sash intact, even still having the possibility to go out for a very strong, close combat. Of course, you have to think about that Amoonguss itself being able to redirect any possible moves from this Great Tusk, as the same thing can apply to that Iron Bundle, going for any potential ice moves wanting to go for any potential ice moves onto this Iron Hands as well.
Indeed. So we do have Aurelien down at a deficit of 3 versus 2 against Eric. They're going to have to try to dig deep. They're going to have to try to find a way to navigate themselves through to forcing a Game 3. Iron Hands has just been putting the absolute most work it can during this set. Just having the Grass Terra as an option. Oh wait, we actually see a failure of a double Protect there. Rage Powder from the Amoonguss, just wanting to redirect any sort of attacks and damage into it. Headlong Rush, not enough to pick up the KO. The Amoonguss does, of course, survive, allowing this Iron Hands once again to be able to just move undisturbed at this point. I think there hasn't been something directly threatening it, and it is able to pick up the KO onto this Iron Bundle thanks to the Drain Punch. This just seems like Eric is running away with it at this point.
Exactly. The Iron Hands just showcasing how much power it really has. Just one-shotting this Mouse Hold earlier with a Drain Punch. Now one-shotting the Iron Bundle with a Drain Punch as well. The Headlong Rush into the Amoonguss, just trying to make sure to get that over and done with. That Amoonguss has to go, of course. While this Great Tusk has now -2 defense stats, meaning this Drain Punch will do quite a bit as well, as this Iron Hands is again able to heal a bit more of that damage, while in the back that Arcanine comes in, making it possible to intimidate this Great Tusk, making it a bit harder for this Great Tusk to actually really do anything here.
Indeed, and I think the fact that the Drain Punch is able to deal a 2-hit KO, even though the Great Tusk has picked up the KO onto the Arcanine right now, it'll depend. There may even be a roll for the Iron Hands if it can, of course, pick up the KO, but this is looking like it may be game, and it is! And we have your champion, Eric Rios, the champion of the 2023 Pokemon Utrecht Special Event.
What an amazing showcase of abilities from both of these players. Eric Rios being able to position himself so well. That Iron Hands putting in all of the works, lifting up the team with all the Drain Punches, Wild Charges, everything you need. Honestly showcasing why it's such a commonly used Pokemon as well.
Indeed, I think there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong for Aurélien. Unfortunately, because of the positioning, it was quite tough to have to deal with that core. The fire, grass core in that case. I guess in Game 2 there was the water as Iron Bundle was brought. But the main important thing is the trio, I would say. We've got Iron Hands, we've got Arcanine, and we've got Amoonguss. And they have been such a threat, and I think we've seen it in previous events, not only housed here in Europe as well as overseas. The fact that they just put in a lot of work, and they really fit the playstyle if you want to go for balance and a lot of repositioning and a lot of predicting on, right, I need to have a certain board state. I want to do the best that I can, and if I'm able to bring it around with multiple switches, fake out, as well as the pivoting, you're able to just do a really good job about it, and Eric is a master at that.
Exactly. He truly is, as we have seen, just keep positioning the volt switches, the hard switches, just trying to make sure that whatever his plan is will come to fruition as well. It was quite hard, of course. Now, that Golden Go, for example, trying to go for that nasty plot again as well. Just trying to see if Eric might have been thinking a bit too far, seeing if he would have predicted the protect from the Golden Go side. Just trying to get the best position for that Golden Go itself to try and make it rain as well as it possibly could.
Indeed, and I think it's quite tough because we're just talking about, oh, maybe Dragonite could be a really good drain from Aurélien. However, it doesn't have a way to directly deal damage to the Golden Go, which Eric did actually bring in Game 1. However, he did make the adaptation of not bringing it in Game 2. He brought the Iron Bundle, kind of at a disadvantage going up against the Iron Bundle for the Dragonite. It is obviously going to be weak to its super effective Ice-type moves. But I still think there may have been some way to break it down, perhaps, if you bring yourself in a good enough board state where you can at least dispatch of that main threat. And I think it just, the problem for me was the fact that the Iron Hands, whether it was going for the Grass Terror or not, it just was left to its own devices. It was able to do too much for Eric, and Eric was able to take full advantage of it. He was aware of it. He's like, okay, no, I know that is the key Pokemon. I can get a couple of switches with other support Pokemon, but that is going to be my MVP, and that is going to give me that title, which it has.
Exactly, and well adapted by Eric as well by bringing that bundle, just making sure that he has a Pokemon that is faster than that Mousehold. Should that Mousehold possibly switch in as well, because with that fast Hydro Pump, being able to KO that mouse hold certainly as well, guaranteeing there wouldn't be a Super Fang as well, because with that Super Fang plus that Golden Goal at +2 with that Terra Steel could have done a lot more damage as well, because that would have been, well, a good position for Aurélien, of course.
Well, it could have been a different game.
Yeah,
if the Hydro Pump did miss, obviously there's more of a probability for it to connect as opposed to missing, but it just goes to show that that honestly could have been a different game. The Iron Hands likely would have been picked up with the KO of the Super Fang combination with the follow-up move too. So it's quite tough. It's quite tough.
It is.
It really is. And I think what Eric has been able to display is the fact that he's a master of board positioning.
Exactly.
We already know this. Aurélien has done incredibly well to bring themselves at this point, but unfortunately, there's just too much to handle. I think that core trio Pokemon was just too much.
It was too much. The bulk they exude, and also the pressure, just the pressure. Because as we have seen, like, Arcanine just came in most of the time, not really clicking that many moves. But like, if it is able to go for that Will-O-Wisp, for example, just lowering the offense that Aurélien was able to offer as well into the match there, and just threatening also the Golden Go, because of course that Golden Go had that Terra Steel instead of like what most, like the Terra Water onto the Golden Go from Eric's side, which could have prevented the Arcanine threatening it that much. But it is a game of positioning, and Eric's a master at it.
I mean, we saw a sneak peek of it in the semi-final versus Marco, where there were so many back and forth.
Honestly.
I think at some point we just kept on seeing greens, and I believe Jamie mentioned he was
trying to look for it.
There's so much green everywhere. When it was orange, it went back to green. It was just mayhem.
Exactly.
But I think it just goes to show the valor and the experience of being able to understand a clear path. See a clear path. What do you need to achieve? How can you switch things up mid-game or mid-turn, should I say, because all of these switches, they allow you to get the jump on your opponent if they haven't opted to go for any sort of switches. It kind of forces them on the back foot in the following turn, but if you're able to have a Volt Switch mid-turn, slow pivot, bring a fresh Pokemon in, you sort of pick up and take advantage of it.
Yeah, it is very interesting to see, because of course we do have that Golden Go with that Mega Rain, which is a very strong attack, but it does lower your special attack by 1. And if you position yourself where you can switch in 2 Pokemon that resist it, you just make that offensive threat of that Golden Go a little bit less, because of course that Arcanine is able to switch in quite nicely, even at a +2 there. Well, no matter how, if you with the, and also the Iron Hands itself as well, if it still has that electric typing, but even with the grass typing, it wasn't taking it pretty well, of course, those Make It Rains. And if you're able to just make sure, okay, he's going for Make It Rain here, he's gonna be at -1 the next turn, I can capitalize on that and use that to my own advantage as well.
Exactly, and I think we saw just that, if I'm completely honest. But I think very interesting team. It makes a lot of sense. It's got so much bulk for it. It's got a lot of good synergy amongst itself. You don't even need a Great Tusk. You don't need a Flood of Mane, apparently. But Iron Hands and Iron Bundle, we know those two Pokemon, along with Flood of Mane, of course, have always been at the top, if not the exact top of the usage stats, first, second, third, with multiple different events. So just seeing it succeed once again makes sense, because it's just so good. They've got that really nice spot in the meta that solves quite a few matchups.
Exactly, and we have also seen like a lot of usage of Arcanine, and we have seen usage of Amoonguss. Amoonguss just being able to force a board position as well, because it threatens that Spore. You're not sure you can KO? Well, better switch to something that has the safety goggles or a grass type, because it's kind of scary otherwise.
No, exactly. And I think it just goes to show the utility of having grass Terra as a choice, especially on the Iron Hands. You could avoid the spores, avoid any sort of redirection, better position yourself against any sort of ground type super effective moves.
Exactly.
As we saw was the name of the game when it came to this Iron Hands. And it was quite tough to break down. All of that in combination with the fact that it has a ridiculously high HP base stat. It's also got a very good physically offensive stat too. Then you got Assault Vest, so you don't even need Protect on this Pokemon. It will sponge the hits for the rest of your team. So it's a very beautiful way of actually gluing or putting a piece of a glue to get the rest of the team going.
Exactly, and we have those Pokemon like that bulk, and then you have, for example, the Amoonguss as well with the Pollen Puff. Something that is so nice to use as well for making sure that the Arcanine can stay healthy as well, then for making sure that the Iron Hands stay healthy. You don't always need to redirect either way. Sometimes just healing a bit can be very nice as well.
It really can, and I think Iron Hand's role so far in the meta, we've seen it do very well, even back when Series 1 Regulation A. It gives me a bit of Incineroar vibes.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest with you. No Intimidate, but you've got the slow pivot.
Yep.
And you're just able to just pop it onto any team, and it will do incredibly well. It is super bulky. It can deal the damage that it needs to. Sure, it doesn't have Flare Blitz like the fiery little kitten does from Sun and Moon, but it's got Drain Punch.
Yeah.
And it's able to extend its longevity through a same type attack bonus move that packs a punch, quite literally.
Exactly that. As you said, it does remind me of Incineroar as well. Because earlier when I was watching the top 4 match, just a bit over there, I was actually comparing it as well. Because you have those slow switches just to make sure that everything can stay safely. Imagine if Iron Hands got Parting Shot.
Oh, no, please no.
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't be able to run Assault Vest as well.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
That's
or at least you could, but it would be suboptimal.
You'd be hoping for a knockoff there. But yeah, exactly. It's one of those just slowly pivots. Because the fast pivots is also very nice to have. Just to make sure, like, fast pivot now to Arcanine, Intimidate, whatever is in. That's the same thing as a hard switch. Just doing a bit of damage at the same time. Or sometimes, as we said with the Parting Shot, just being able to lower the special attack or attack from a Pokemon, just making sure board positioning.
Well, exactly. And I think that's what we saw. So it was board positioning at its finest. So I'll be quite interested to see, of course, what this means for the trainers that we have had join us for this event. How are they feeling going into the European International Championships? What current CP standings do they have? Where are they placed on the leaderboard? Because there's a lot that comes into factor when it comes to the leaderboard run. So the travel awards, you've got the stipends going into it, and how can you find a way to get onto that platform that can further propel you into the future or with a better position into Yokohama later on this summer?
Exactly. There's still a lot of events going on, even though this one might have just finished. We have the next one being EUIC, and then we have Malmo, of course, here in Europe. We have other international events also still going to happen as well, which you can definitely find as well on the Pokemon website. Just try and find it. Very easy to find, actually.
Indeed. I mean, I know that Victory Road do have some really good resources available for the event calendar. But, of course, this is the final moment that we have been waiting for. We're going to go ahead and cut over to our Winners Ceremony Awards, where we will be passing it over to Charlie, who will be having a very quick interview with our champion of Utrecht, Eric Rios.
Hello, Pokemon trainers. My name is Charlie Merriman, and you join me here with Pikachu, of course, for the award ceremony of our Utrecht Special Event 2023. We started out with around 500 Pokemon trainers, and we whittled it down to 2 in the fantastic final that we've just seen between Aurélien Soula and Eric Rios. And please welcome back to the stage for a few words, your finalist, Aurélien Soula. Aurélien, congratulations on your performance. I'm sorry you weren't able to go all the way, but how do you feel having reached this point?
It feels really unreal. To be honest, I didn't even expect to like necessarily make day 2 or even make top cut going into this event with like a preparation went. So yeah.
That's fantastic. It's wonderful to hear that you're pleased with your result, even though you didn't go all the way. And what a fantastic opportunity it was. Are there any shout-outs that you want to give to people who have helped you along the way?
I think I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I give the same shout-outs every time. But yeah, shout-outs to my parents for bringing me to events, and of my friends who supported me throughout the years. Yeah, and to people today who helped me prepare for matchups for Top Cut.
Absolutely wonderful words there from Aurélien. It's the people we meet along the way. Thank you so much, Aurélien, and congratulations again. so much, Aurélien, for joining me on stage. Thank you. And now, everyone, please welcome your winner of the Utrecht Special Event 2023. It is the one and only Eric Rios. Congratulations, Eric. What a terrific performance. The crowd going absolutely wild for you there. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling super good now, and I can't believe it. I made it finally, because I was preparing a lot for this tournament, but didn't expect to win at the end. I came here to prepare, to test, and enjoy the tournament, and I finally made it.
Yeah. You went all the way. You absolutely did. And I mean, compared to your semi-final match, which went to 20 minutes all one of the 3 games, and that final was, by comparison, quite quick. How did you adapt your game plan for that?
Do you say the semi-finals, right?
Yes,
The semi-finals. Yeah, it was super intense, 20 minutes each game, and when I saw that was a Garganagon matchup and he won game 1, because I didn't risk anything, I was playing so safe, I thought, okay, I need to risk some turns, I need to read, and I did that, and I won the 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And that was a faster paced final. Was that welcome for you after the semi-final?
Yeah, and finals were absolutely... it was super difficult, because Iron Bundle plus Greatest it's annoying for me, but I had to read the Goldengo Terra and then I Drain Punch at the Goldengo, and I think Hans was the MVP of the match.
Yeah, absolutely. It was incredibly well played. And so, you're the Utrecht Special Event champion, having accumulated so many championship points last season. What's your next event? What's on your radar?
My next event is the European International, and I want to defend that.
Well, of course, as anyone would. You heard it here first. EUIC, keep an eye on Eric Rios. And finally, any shout-outs you want to give as the champion?
I want to shout out all my friends that have been supporting me during all the competition, all the tournaments. Also, my family, my mom, my dad. They always supported me during the years playing, because I am playing like 10 years Pokemon, so thanks to them and to everyone who has supported me from home.
Very touching words there from your champion. Give it up one more time for Eric Rios. With a gleaming medal to boot. Thank you, Eric, and congratulations one more time. So, Pokemon trainers, there you have it, your winner of the Utrecht Special Event. And let me throw it back over to Costa and Simon one last time to wrap up this event.
Thank you so much, Charlie, and everybody joining us for this spectacular broadcast over the weekend here in Utrecht. It has been such a pleasure, of course. Huge props to Eric Rios once again for becoming our 2023 Pokemon Utrecht special event champion for the video game. I think it's definitely been a very exciting one, full of loads of various action, stuff that we can definitely look forward to seeing days and months to come.
Exactly. It was an amazing event to boot. It was fun to see all these players go out their way to come to this event here in the Netherlands, of course, and seeing that now. Honestly, looking back, like I'm already having fond memories of looking back at day 1 Swiss, day 2 Swiss, but especially about this top 8. It was looking so good. All of these matches were so well played as well, and I sincerely enjoyed being able to help as well, sometimes being with the interview as well, and casting with you as well, of course.
Indeed. Well, right back at you, my friend. Thank you. I think we have obviously had a lot of pleasure with interacting with both the players as well as some spectators too, across with the interviews that we have had, of course. So what we will do is very quickly have a quick synopsis of what the top 8 bracket did indeed look like for this event, just so we could go ahead and actually see the progression of our trainers past that top cut mark, of course, where we did have Aurélien find all the way through to the finals, and Eric Rios, of course, reach the title. A couple of trainers indeed. I think top 8 bracket will be able to show us right now the various teams, of course, that were able to accomplish this. And we've got a variety. We've definitely got a variety. And I think Juan Manuel Odriozola was able to actually lead Day 2 Swiss going into the top cut itself. And Aurélien was able to just battle their way through past them, past Alex Gomez, straight into Eric Rios with the final. And unfortunately, Eric was able to be triumphant.
Exactly. Looking at these teams, especially like just in being able to enjoy them, I immediately flashbacks to the teams that we have been able to feature on stream. A lot of these players actually have been featured on the stream as well. Just seeing that, of course, the Lilycove that we have been talking about quite a bit as well from Antonio, which is very interesting to see. And like all of these teams do share that one thing that they have a little bit specific to the trainer that have made them, of course, because we see, for example, the Annihilate there without the mouse hold that I have been enjoying seeing as well. The Iron Hands, of course, the Iron Hands, we have to talk about it. 2 Iron Hands here, 3 actually, my apologies. We have to respect the hand, certainly, now that it has 1 here as well. Just seeing how much pressure it could have put out in the final game for Eric Rios as well.
Indeed, and I think all of the players here are very well known in all of their individual communities, as well as the entire overview of the European community. I think very, very powerful, a stacked top 8 there. It's quite hard to be able to be crowned a champion when you have such formidable trainers to battle your way through in order to reach the title. I think it just goes to show the level of expectation, of experience, as well as, of course, the play style, the gameplay itself, the strategies, the temperament of being able to focus and hone in onto very advanced plays regarding the board positioning, which, like we've mentioned, Eric is a bit of a maestro for.
Yeah, exactly. Eric has played that fantastically. Just being able to showcase the, as you said, the high level of play. The way you said it was just amazing, actually. Like, you have been able to say it in such like you have been able to just round it up, as you said. These players are all amazing, and it has been very enjoyable to be able to see them all just showcase their teams, and even the trainers on the floor as well, being able to see them. And that we have to mention as well, we will be seeing you again, because soon at EUYC, that is the next of course,
major
event. Yes. Exactly, in Europe. Very important to note as well.
Indeed, as we, of course, will be featuring that at the weekend of April of 14th to 16th, so you will not want to miss any of the action there. It's going to be one of the biggest turnouts for all for players. Very stacked, of course. We know that the venue itself, it's actually being hosted in the same venue we were able to have for the Worlds of 2022 last summer. So it's going to be an emphatic arena where there's definitely going to be the feeling of anticipation and excitement in the air. I'm very much looking forward to being there as well myself. I know a lot of people, most people I've spoken to were telling me how excited they are, because they feel like it's a sort of mini Worlds for Europe. You know, the best of the best are going to be here, and a lot will be decided, both with a CP as well as your positioning and how strong in the leaderboards you will be. Going on to our following events, of course, with Malmo and then Turin here for the European events, prior to then hopping straight over to the North American International Championships.
Yes, and followed by that, of course, is the World's Championship tournament in Yokohama, Japan, where everyone really wants to be able to go. So if you are interested in that, certainly try to join us as much as you can on these tournaments. We will be seeing you at EUYC, and definitely Victory Road will be here as well, streaming on for the Malmo regional as well.
Exactly that. So, from everybody, from us as well as the other casters and the entire crew of Victory Road, the tournament organizers and everybody, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you lovely people join us for this broadcast. So, if you do not want to miss any VGC action, make sure to tune in next time. But from us, this is us signing off. Thank you so much. We hope you have a lovely rest of the upcoming week, and take care.